Hello, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit more about anxious attachment. So I'm just bringing in some of my psychology background. We're looking at attachment styles just for fun, just to have a different lens to look at what's going on in your relationship dynamics. And as you know, I always come back to manifesting. I always come back to we are creating our realities from the inside out, and we can absolutely shift and form and mold any relationship dynamic or pattern that we have. However, it also is really good for us to just understand why we're doing what we're doing, why we feel the way we feel. When we have a better understanding of how we even unconsciously identify. What I mean by that is if we're more anxiously attached, there's an unconscious programming of how we are in relationship. And so the more we make that program conscious, we can then change it. So that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. Before I jump in, please make sure you're subscribed to my channel in the corner or below. Also know that I offer lots of self-study manifesting courses. There are 13 courses down there. It can help you manifest anything you want. And the last thing I'll say is I do a weekly giveaway for a bundle of 3 ebooks that I wrote. The way to enter in the contest is to subscribe to my channel, to like this video, and to comment below. I give 3 ebooks to 3 people every week. Okay, so in my last video, which I recorded earlier, so I'll post it up there if you want to watch it, I talked about how to cope with an avoidantly attached partner. This is really common. It's just a way to label the relationship dynamic, and it's through a psychology perspective. And so typically what happens is someone who is more avoidantly attached, which means they fear not having enough space in a relationship. They fear being taken over by someone else. They fear engulfment. Typically, this avoidant person is going to match up with an anxiously attached person in relationship. Actually, now that I think about it, they even talk about this in the twin flame community. They talk about the runner chaser. So the avoidant person would be the runner, and the chaser would be the anxiously attached person. There's all different ways to look at this dynamic that's going on. So from just being present with you guys on my channel and having sessions with you and interacting with you guys in my courses, I would say that people on my channel are more likely to be of the anxiously attached style of attachment. And anxiously attached people are essentially, they fear that love is leaving. They fear that they are going to be left. They feel the intricacies of love leaving. Like when you are partnered up with someone and you feel the subtle distancing from them, it starts to really scare you. And the reason is your patterning is that of feeling like love leaves. It just essentially means it's like your wound pattern from childhood. Now, people have different degrees of these attachment styles. It's not just like a static thing. And you can also very much evolve your attachment style. So I definitely used to be more anxiously attached. I would say I'm pretty securely attached at this point. I would say I'm really secure attached. So secure attachment is essentially you're okay. Your partner can distance a little, they can come back in, but like you're stabilized through their movements. You don't go into panic or fear or crumbling or freaking out or like really getting upset and hurt from the micro movements of your partner. That's called secure attachment. Now, I developed my own nervous system to become securely attached. And how did I do this? I did this through self-love practices. I will link my self-love playlist up there. And actually, inner child is a little more relevant. I'm going to link that one instead. So if you are anxiously attached, your main work to no longer feel abandoned in relationships, to no longer feel distanced from, to break these patterns. So you're breaking two levels of patterns. You're breaking the pattern internally of being triggered by being distanced from. And then once you break the pattern internally of feeling triggered by being distanced from, you'll break the pattern of that actually even happening in your reality, right? Because through the manifesting perspective, we're creating everything in our realities. And so if you no longer expect to be left or abandoned or distanced from, if that leaves your inner state, your inner assumptions or expectations, it's going to stop happening. That's essentially the way I've evolved myself. And, of course, I've done that with a lot of help from a lot of people. I had a lot of therapy and, I've worked on myself quite a bit. So that's what I did. I evolved myself into no longer feeling anxiously attached. So just a few more things about what it is to be anxiously attached. Again, it just is the fear that love is going to leave you. And a lot of us, when it comes to attachment style, we have the attachment style without even knowing we have it. Avoidant people, they definitely don't know they're avoidant for the most part. I mean, they're more likely to also avoid like therapy. They're more likely to avoid, getting help around it. I don't know, maybe that's a projection on my part, but that's what I would assume. It's the anxiously attached person is probably more likely to dive into these teachings and really discover what's going on. So we, as anxiously attached people, we have what we can call it is a self-concept. Using my manifesting language, we have a self-concept that's somewhere inside of us. We have some sort of expectation of being left or fear of being left. And again, this often comes just from some sort of childhood experience. And the way to move beyond the fear of being left and then the experience of being left is by doing just what I've spoken about. So, number one, if you are partnered with someone who tends to distance, the best thing for you to do when you start to feel them distance, that avoidant person, when they start to go away, is you have to learn how to soothe yourself through that experience. Now, as I talked about in the first video, which is linked up there if you want to look at it. Sometimes it's good for us to say, recognize, okay, they're doing their avoidant attachment thing. I'm going to let them do their distancing thing and I'm going to be here with myself. Sometimes it's helpful to just name it for what it is and use that as a way to understand what's going on, not take their distancing personally, and then use your time to land in your own inner connection. I'm okay. Love's not leaving me. So doing deep inner child work is actually going to really help with this. I'm going to post my inner child guided meditation. It's a very helpful tool for you to soothe yourself, especially when you feel left, right? Because that's the worst possible thing for an anxiously attached person, is to feel left. When we feel left, it's panic. It's the worst possible thing, just as it's the worst possible thing for an avoidant person to feel like there's too much love coming towards them. Chasing is the worst possible thing for someone who's avoidant. I'll link my chasing playlist. I can't remember if I linked it already. I'll link it if I didn't. So you want to be able to soothe yourself when you start to feel that person distancing. And then what you're going to want to do as you're going into a practice like this, it's an ongoing practice of soothing yourself, especially when you feel left. Ideally, what's going to happen as you continue to practice something like this is you're going to start to recreate your inner expectations. And this is where we get into manifesting. As you start to develop new expectations of what you're going to receive, as you start to feel like love is never going to leave you, you can't be left. I mean, that's really where my anxious attachment style probably most dissipated, was when I really understood that love was never going to leave me. And that wasn't about someone else. That was my connection to God. I recognized I am God. God is connected to me. God is always here. God is always accessible. Love will never leave. When I say God, I mean love. It's the same thing. Love will never leave me. that sense of wholeness is always with me. It doesn't matter what's happening in my outer reality. That's what really cracked and probably broke my anxious attachment style. Because then it was like, well, the party's over. I can't be left. And when you can't be left, you don't fear being left. And when you don't fear being left, you're not left. So all this to say, the way to evolve your anxious attachment style is simply by showing up. I say simply, but of course this is a very deep practice, but it's simply by showing up for yourself, especially when you feel left, and learning to soothe and even convince yourself, sweetie, you can't be left. I know it feels like you're being left right now. I know it doesn't feel good. You can't be left. And when you retrain or reprogram yourself to truly believe that you can't be left by love, regardless what your avoidant partner is doing, you can't be left by love. When you really, really get that, your outer reality has to shift and mold to no longer leave you. That includes avoidant people. One more little thing I'll say about this is avoidant people become safer and more available when they realize they're not going to be encroached upon by the anxious person who feels like they're being left. So the more we stabilize and not go after the anxious person, the more they stabilize too, and it helps stabilize the whole relationship. So yeah, this is my whole download on attachment styles. I'm so curious what you think about it. Please let me know below. Also let me know what your attachment styles are. We can have a combination of all the attachment styles too. It's more of a spectrum type of thing. It's not a rigid, you're this or you're this, but people tend to interact in relationships from one attachment style or another. So I'd love to hear what you think about this below. Also, please like the video and comment and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.